Alright, so I got my recipe that I want to use. This is from HelloFresh. It's enchiladas. I got all the ingredients. There's a list right here. And then I'm going to cook this, and I'll show you how I enter it into MyFitnessPal. Alright, I've got all of my ingredients out and ready to go. And then I also have a sticky note pad and a marker to write down how much I use of each ingredient, as well as my food scale. Alright, so the first part of the recipe is asking me to combine ingredients in a small bowl. So I'm just going to measure how much of each ingredient I use. So it came out to 227 grams. I'm going to take my marker and write this down. Now I'm going to tear it out again and add in my second ingredient. All right, and that came out to 56 grams. So I'll write that down as well. All right, so it's also asking me to add lime juice and salt and pepper, and those have fairly few calories, so I'm not going to count the salt, pepper, and the lime. All right, so now I'm heating a pan, and it says to add oil. So what I'm going to do is put the entire olive oil container on there, zero out my scale, and then I'm going to pour some of that into the pan. That looks like a drizzle, right? All right, and that was about 9 grams, so I'm going to write down 9 grams of olive oil. All right, so now I'm going to add the ground beef. So I'm going to put the whole container on the scale, zero it out, and then I'm going to empty this whole thing, oh goodness, into the pan. And then we'll see, so minus 716 grams. So I use 716 grams of beef, and I'm going to write that down on my paper now. It's really important to distinguish whether it's raw or cooked. Yeah, 16 grams of raw lean beef, and then I got the 93% lean, so I wrote that down too. Those all make a big difference. Okay, now I'm going to add some spices, and I'm not nitpicky about spices, so I don't track these, unless it's something like fattening, like butter, or I might track salt sometimes, but this is garlic powder, chili powder, and cumin, and I won't track any of those. This seasoning I actually am going to log, so I'm just going to write down fajita seasoning mix, Old El Paso. I might even save this, and then I'll just scan it into MyFitnessPal later. But I'm going to use the whole container. Alright, so while my beef is cooking, I'm going to weigh out this pan. So it is 1,414 grams, and I'm just going to write that down. Alright, I'm also going to use this entire package of tortillas, so I'm not going to write that down. I'm just going to save the container to scan it into MyFitnessPal when I'm done. Now I'm making the paste that goes on top of the enchiladas, so I'm just going to measure it out. Here. 3 ounces, and then I'm going to save the can to scan it later. Alright, my recipe calls for 1 cup of cheese, so I'm going to tear it out, and I'm going to use the back of the container. So a 1/4 cup is 28 grams, so I'm going to multiply that by 4, and that equals 112. So we're going to take out of this 112 grams. Alright, perfect. Now we're going to let it bake, and we'll weigh it cooked. Alright, now for the fun part. Well, my recipe is cooking. I'm going to go to MyFitnessPal and create a recipe. So you go to More, then My Meals and Recipes. We're going to create a recipe, and this is on the internet, so you could go to the URL, just copy and paste it into there. But since I didn't follow the ingredients exactly, I'm going to enter it manually. Alright, so we're going to call this beef enchiladas. And I'm going to divide it into 6 servings. Or maybe I'll do 8. Alright, so we're going to do bulk import ingredients. Alright, and then I have all my ingredients right here. So, 227 grams. Tomatoes. Then you always want to make sure you specify it if it's raw or cooked. And then we'll do 56 grams. Oops. Scallions. Raw. Alright, so then you just want to make sure that all of this looks accurate. So raw tomatoes, about 41 calories. Yeah, that looks right. Scallions, only 3 calories. Olive oil looks right. I want to make sure this is raw. Looks about right. And then all of these look right. So this one looks wrong. I don't think that 8 small tortillas only have 1,760 calories. I think it's less. So I'm going to go to search for alternative, and I'm just going to scan the actual ones that I used. So I'm going to the back of the container. See, it just scanned it. Nice and easy, and then I only used 8. So I'm going to put that in there. And that's 800 calories versus 1,700 calories. So that's really important. You make sure you get those right. Alright, and then there was one other thing that I had used, so I'm going to add an ingredient, and I'm going to scan in my fajita seasoning. So I'm going to scan the barcode, and I use the entire container. $90 calories, that looks about right. Alright. These macros look about right based on the ingredients that I put in it. Alright, and then next I'll tell you how to know how much is a serving. Okay, we have our finished product. So now my scale is zeroed out. I'm going to put the enchiladas on the scale. Alright, so the total is 2,553. So I'm going to write that down. So now remember I had written down how much the pan weighed. So now we're going to subtract from 2,553. Okay, so the total amount of cooked food I have is 1,139 grams. Alright, so that's the total amount of cooked food I have, and that's how many servings I want to divide it into. So I just divided that, and then I found out that one serving equals 142 grams. So now I'm just going to go back to my FitnessPal. I still had the recipe up in here, and I'm going to add in 142 grams. So I remember that that is one serving. Now we're going to hit save. And it's right there for when I want to eat.